Good morning, students. I hope so. You are all doing well and you are taking good care of your health. So, I had been receiving a lot of queries that, ma'am, we are just completing the chapters and we are not able to recover the chapters that we have covered earlier. It is just being a burden and we are not able to understand few of the topics, and there was a lot of things and queries had been coming to my way. So I thought to start off with this revision session now. So in this particular revision session, we are going to cover subject wise each chapter that are going to come in boards. So we are now going to focus only on those chapters which are going to cover in basically in boards. So this particular session we are going to have twice or thrice in a week. That will be easier, and you can just let me know whatever topic you're not able to understand. I am going to cover in this revision session. So I'm going to start with the scratch from subject geography today, and chapter number 1, resources and development, which is going to come in your exams. So basically we are going to start from the scratch now, and please be with me. If you are not able to understand any of the topics, you can tell me anywhere personally, on queries, or anywhere. I am going to cover all those topics in this revision session. So it is going to be beneficial for you only to study these topics again and understand these topics again if you are not able to. So we are starting off with this lecture now. Please be with me. And anywhere if you are not able to understand, just let me know in the comment section or in the student query section. Thank you so much. Now we are starting the lecture. So first of all, I just want to know the syllabus. So many of you are telling me that we are not able to get what are the chapters that are coming in the boards and what are not. So there are few of the chapters that are not included in boards, but we have done it. So we are not going to include that in our revision session at all. So I'm just letting you know what are the chapters that we are going to cover and that we have done also. The first is unit 1. We have particularly 4 subjects, you all know. First is India and the Contemporary World 2, that is the history. In this first chapter that we are going to cover and have covered is the rise of nationalism in Europe. So you have studied this chapter. If you have queries in this chapter, you can let me know that in few of the topics we are going to cover in this revision session as well. So in this particular chapter, you are going to study about the French Revolution and the idea of the nation, the making of nationalism in Europe, the age of revolution from 1830 to 1848, the making of Germany and Italy, visualizing the nation, nationalism and imperialism. So these are the main topics that are there in this particular chapter that could come in exams or basically in boards. So if you have queries from any of these topics, you can let me know. Then there is chapter number 3, nationalism in India. The second chapter that we have covered, it is not included in boards, but still for some reasons we have been instructed to study that as well. But we are not going to focus that in our revision session at all, and in that particular chapter I am not including in test as well. So this will be the chapter that I have given you in your holidays as well to study and to make notes of it, and we are going to cover this in the coming lectures as well. So the things that we are going to study here will be the First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation, different strengths within the movement towards civil disobedience, the sense of collective belonging. So all these topics and more about this particular chapter we are going to study in our future lectures. Then in section 2 of this particular book, there is livelihood, economics and societies, and there is one theme, any one theme of the following you can choose. So the third chapter that is coming the boards is the making of a global world, that we haven't done till now, we will do in future. So the things you will cover here will be the pre-modern world, the 19th century global economy, colonialism, the interwar economy, Great Depression, rebuilding the world war. So you can note down these in somewhere if you want to. In your fair notebook as well, you can write it down. These are the chapters that are coming in the boards, and whatever chapters you have done, you can make a tick mark on that yes, we have done this chapter, and if you have queries from any of these chapters, you can let me know. Fourth, the age of industrialization. So in this particular chapter, you will study about before the industrial revolution, hand labor and steam power, industrialization in the colonies, factories come up, the peculiarities of industrial growth, market for goods, and all these things we'll be covering in this chapter. Then section 3 is about everyday life, culture and politics. So the fifth chapter that is going to come here is print culture and the modern world. So in this particular chapter we will study about the first printed books, print comes to Europe, the print revolution and its impact, the reading mania, the 19th century, India and the world of print, religious reform and public debates, new forms of publication, print and censorship. Then we are coming to the second book, that is Geography, Unit 2, Contemporary India 2. So in this particular chapter, the second and third chapters that are there about forest and wildlife resources, and second water resources. So these two chapters are not included in boards. We are not going to cover that in our revision session. The things we are going to focus on will be the first chapter that we have done on mainly on resources and development. So these are the main topics that are there in this particular chapter: types of resources, development of resources, resource planning in India, land resources, land utilization, land use pattern in India, land degradation and conservation measures, soil as a resource, classification of soil, soil erosion and soil conservation. So today we are starting off with this chapter only. We are going to cover few of the topics. If you have queries from any of these topics, you can just let me know. Then agriculture, that we have done recently about, and in this types of farming, cropping pattern, major crops, technological institutional reforms, impact of globalization on agriculture. So we have just finished it off with this chapter. So if you want any of the topics from this chapter also, you can just let me know. Then fifth, the minerals and energy resources. Here you will cover what is mineral, mode of occurrence of minerals, ferrons and non-ferrons minerals, non-metallic minerals, rock, conservation of minerals, energy resources, conventional and non-conventional conservation of energy resources. All these topics are there. And sixth, manufacturing industries, importance of manufacturing, contribution of industry to national economy, industrial location, classification of industries, spatial distribution, industrial pollution and environmental degradation, control of environmental degradation. And seventh is lifelines of national economy, transport, communication, international trade, tourism. Is in this particular chapter there is not much of it, just a lifeline of national economy which are there. Now the third unit we have is civics. So in civics, democratic politics 2. So the first chapter that we have covered, it is a part of boards, that is power sharing. Like we have studied about case studies of Belgium and Sri Lanka, why power sharing is desirable and the forms of power sharing. So you have queries from any of the topic, you can just let me know. Federalism is also a part of it. So what is federalism? What make India a federal country? How is federalism practiced? Decentralization in India. So if you have queries from any of these topics, let me know. Then third is not a part of boards that we have studied, but it was not a part of boards. Now the chapters that we will be covering in future from this, it will be gender, religion and caste, gender and politics, religion, communalism and politics, caste and politics. Then there will be 6 chapter that will be including political parties. Why do we need political parties? How many parties should we have? National political parties, state parties, challenges to political parties, how can parties be reformed? These will be the things we will cover in this chapter. 7, outcomes of democracy, is also part of board. How do we assess democracy's outcomes? Accountable, responsive and legitimate government. Then economic growth and the development, reduction of inequality and poverty, accommodation of social diversity, dignity and freedom of the citizens. Then the last one we have is economics, understand economic development. So in this particular book we have done development. So in this chapter, if you have queries, you can ask me anytime. So what development promises, different types, there are different people, different goals, income and other goals, national development, how to compare different countries or states, income and other criteria, public facilities and sustainability of development. So if you are not able to understand any of these topics, you can just let me know. Then sectors of the Indian economy. So we have covered this chapter also. So sectors of economic activities, comparing the three sectors, primary, secondary and tertiary sectors in India, division of sectors as organized and unorganized, sectors in terms of ownership, public and private sectors. So if you are querying from any of these topics, you are not able to understand anything, let me know. Then we will cover in the future about money and credit, that is a part of your course. Money as a medium of exchange, modern forms of money, loan activities of banks, two different credit situations, term of credit, formal sector credit in India, self-help groups for the poor. Fourth will be globalization and the Indian economy. So the production across countries, interlinking production across countries, foreign trade and integration of markets. What is globalization? Factors that have enabled globalization. World Trade Organization impact on globalization on India. The struggle for a fair globalization and all these things. So this is the proper syllabus that's part of your course, and these will be the chapters that will be included in the course, and we are now focusing only on these particular chapters only, not anywhere else. And the chapters that we have covered till now, from these, if you have queries, you are not able to understand anything, just let me know anytime. Now the topics that we are going to cover in this particular lecture will be, we are starting off with book to book. So we are starting with geography. If you have queries from any of the chapters that we have covered and you're not able to understand anything, you can tell me. So we'll cover that in our revision session. So we are starting with chapter number 1 today, that is resources and development. So the topics I am taking today are basically resources, types of resources, development of resources, resource planning in India. So I am not taking much of it, so that you are not able to there's not a burden that is there in your head, because you have to study 5 subjects daily. So I'm just taking few of the topics that you can able to understand, and I'm giving you homework from these also, you are able to do it. I'm not giving you much of the things. We are going to study minimum, and we are going to learn also that particular minimum, so that you are able to understand these topics very well. Then the homework solution and homework. So these will be the topics that we are going to cover today. So let's get started now. First of all, resource. So I am just giving you notes from these particular chapters. I'm not going to explain you in detail each and every stuff, but in a not in a brief way, but in a very specific way, I'm going to tell you each of these topics, what it is all about. So resource, as you all see all around you in the environment, everything, all our needs that is provided by, given by our environment, is a part of a resource only. So everything available in the environment, if you see around, whatever things are available in the environment, कोई भी चीज़ जो हमारे आसपास है, जो हमें इन्वायरमेंट से मिलता है और जो हमारी नीड्स को सेटिस्फाई करे, बेसिकली इट शुड सेटिस्फाई आवर ओन नीड्स एंड इट शुड प्रोवाइड अस, इट शुड बट अभी हमारे पास बहुत सारी चीज़ें हैं, बट क्या हमारे पास वो टेक्नोलॉजिकली एक्सेसिबल है, इकोनॉमिकली फिजिबल है या कल्चरली एक्सेप्टेबल. सो व्हाट डज दीज पर्टिकुलर टर्म्स मीन? सो दैट इफ आई वांट टू बाय अ पेन, सो आई विल हैव, उसके लिए मेरे पास वो शॉप होनी चाहिए जहाँ पे वो पेन अवेलेबल हो. अगर वो नहीं होगा तो हाउ आई एम गोइंग टू गेट इट? सो इट शुड बी टेक्नोलॉजिकली एक्सेसिबल, देन इकोनॉमिकली फिजिबल. So if my budget is around 5 rupees and the pen is of 10 rupees, how you are going to buy it? It should be economically feasible. So according to that, culturally acceptable, few of the things are there that we particularly we are living in a diversified country. So few things we accept, few things we don't. Few things are harmful for our religion, and something will be another. So it should be culturally acceptable as well. So keeping these particular three things in our mind, everything that is available into our environment that are satisfying our needs, but it should be technologically accessible, economically feasible, and culturally acceptable, can be termed as resource. So how you can term resource as by these three particular terms here. Then there are certain types of resources that are there that are classified into various things. So these resources can be classified in the following ways. So first is on the basis of the origin. So what is the particular origin of that particular resource? Is it a living thing or it is a non-living thing? It is biotic or it is abiotic. So it depends on its origin as well. Then on the basis of its exhaustibility. So on exhaustibility we say that it is a kind of a renewable thing that we can use it again and again, or it is a kind of a non-renewable thing that used once and we have to throw it. So it depends on its usability as well. Then on the basis of its ownership. So what kind of assets you have, what kind of resource you have, like it's an individual resource, it's a community resource, it's a national resource, or it is an international resource. So it depends on that. So it depends on the ownership as well. Then on the basis of status of development. So what kind of resource it is and in what state that particular resource currently is. So it is a kind of a potential resource or developed resource or stock or a reserve one. So it depends on the status of its development as well, in which particular state that particular resource is currently. So it is the classification. Now we are going to study these particular things in detail. So first of all we are taking about the origin. So we are taking biotic resource. So you all know and you have studied in science and your previous class as well what is a biotic resource. So biotic resource obtained from biosphere which have life. So everything whichever resource around you that have life, that's a part of biosphere, is biotic resource, such as human beings, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock, etc. So whatever things that have life within them and a part of the biosphere around you is a part of biotic resources, such as human being, flora and fauna, fisheries, livestock, etc. Then all those things which are composed of non-living things are called abiotic resources. So all the resources that are counted and which are not having life within themselves. So now we are coming to abiotic resources. So biotic resources have life, but abiotic resources doesn't have life within themselves, and they are composed of non-living things such as rock and metal. So they are the abiotic resources. So we are clear with the first type of resource, which are on the basis of its origin. Then now we are coming to the renewable resources. So what are renewable resources? Renewable resources can be renewed or reproduced by physical, chemical or mechanical processes. So here renewable resources are things that you can reproduce or reuse them again and again. If like there is a particular kind of cloth that you are using, you are first using it as your own cloth, then your mom kind of make it as a kitchen tool as well if it is quite old. So you can renew that particular thing again and again. The cloth can be used again and again. It is a renewable thing. But many of the things are not renewable. So whatever things are different, we are going to study that. So renewable resources can be renewed or reproduced by its physical, chemical or mechanical processes, such as the solar and wind energy. So particularly energy is one of the things that can be reproduced or renewed again and again, such as solar and wind energy. You have seen it how it works. So that's one of the things that we can renew or reproduce again and again. Then water is a kind of a renewable thing. We can use it in multiple ways. Forest and wildlife resources are also one of the part from which we are making a lot of industrial products. So these are a part of renewable resources. Then we are coming to non-renewable resources that occur over a very long geographical time. So now non-renewable resources, there are a lot of things that are not renewed again, but or may take a lot of time to renew, like minerals and fossil fuels are few of the things that are not renewable, that are used once and they are gone. But there are few of the items as well that are not renewable, like plastic, one of the things. A lot more other stuffs are also a part of non-renewable resources. For example, that takes a lot millions of years for its formation. So they come under the category of non-renewable resources. So we have done with the on the basis of exhaustibility here. Then we are coming to its ownership. So here we are including individual resources that are owned privately by individuals. So you are having your own home, that is your own property, that is your own asset. So that is a part of an individual resource you have. So all these assets that is owned by you, that is not owned by any other one, that is an individual resource you are having. So individual resources are owned privately by individuals. Your own home can be the one of the thing, your office or any other land that you own is a part of your own land area, and that is owned by you. So that is the individual resource here. For example, many farmers own land which is allotted to them by government against the payment of revenue. So there are a lot of land area as well that is owned by the farmers, that is allotted by the government to them, and they pay a certain revenue to them for that particular land to the government they do. Same way, if you are having your own home, your father must be having his own office or something, that is the individual resource that particular person has. Then we are coming to the community resource. So the community owned resources are resources which are accessible to all the members of the community. So if you live in a society, few of the things that you got, like parks are there, then village ponds are there, grounds are there, picnic places, spots are there, playgrounds are there. So these particular spots that are there is not shared by an individual, it is shared by the entire society who are living in that particular place. So community owned resources are the resources which are accessible to all the members of the community who are living in that particular space area. Like for example, like in village commons there are gazing grounds, brutal grounds and village ponds, etc. So these are few of the things that are there around you in a particular village that are commonly used by the entire community who are living there. Then picnic parks, picnic spots, public parks, picnic spots, playgrounds in urban areas, etc. So these are few of, if you are living in a society in an urban area, these are particular things that is owned by the community itself, the society itself, not by an individual. Then there is natural resource. So in natural resource, technically all the resources belonging to the nation. So if you are living in India, all the resources which are accessible to one person will be accessible to another person of that particular nation. So all the resources belonging to the one nation, and the country has legal powers to acquire even private properties for public good. So all they have the access to each and everything, like public roads are there, railway station and transportation, roads, everything is covered in this natural resource. So all the resources belong to the nation. Whoever are a part of that particular nation can use all these resources. So technically all the resources belong to the nation, to country that has legal powers. So you have certain legal powers in your own nation, but when you have to go to abroad, you have to like you should have certain you don't have certain variations on that. You doesn't have that much of power to occupy each and everything there. So the country has legal power to your own and to acquire even private property for public good. So you can buy any of the private property also by giving them money. So you have that access in your own country but not in the other countries. Then there is international resources. So how can you have access on the international resources? So international resources are international institutions which regulate some resources, like the oceanic resources beyond 200 kilometers of the executive economic zone belong to open ocean, and no individual country can utilize these without the concurrence of international institutions. So basically, in international resources, all the importing and exporting that happens from one country to the other countries, and which is beyond we have certain boundaries that is there around us, and we have certain access till 200 kilometers of it, but after that we don't have any other access within our own national resource. It doesn't come under national resource, it will be an international resource after 200 kilometers. So whatever things, whatever resources that we are occupying apart from that are a part of international resource. Whatever exporting and importing takes place between two countries, that is an international resource we have. Now we are coming to the other type of the resource, which is on the basis of the status of its development. So in what state that particular resource is at, and what if we can use it, we can't use it, what can be the possible things we can use from those particular resources. So the first one is potential resource. So in potential resources, resources which are found in a region but have not been utilized. So all the resources which are found in a particular region but have not been utilized yet. Like for example, in western parts of India, particularly Rajasthan and Gujarat, have enormous potential for the development of wind and solar energy, but so far these have not been developed properly. So if one particular region have that kind of a power to produce these kind of resources, but we are not using that particular area for certain resources, we are not obtaining that area to acquire a lot of resources out of it. Like we are taking example of Rajasthan and Gujarat, they have the power to produce and they have the potential to produce wind and solar energy here, but so far they are not able to develop that properly here in that particular land area. So the resources which are found in a region, they are the resources that you can found in that particular region, but they are not being utilized yet, is a potential resource. Then we have developed resource. So in developed resources, resources which are surveyed and their quality and quantity have been determined for utilization. So in developed resources, resources which are surveyed, like there is a survey that goes from one particular region to other to check the quality and quantity in which particular part of the area we can produce certain resources. So it has been surveyed, the quality and quantity has been surveyed, but it has not been determined yet that we should produce that particular area for that resource or not. So that's a developed resource that the survey has been done, but it is not been determined yet that we are going to use that particular land area or not. So there was I haven't mentioned here. So stock is one of the parts of the materials in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings do not have the appropriate technology to access these. So basically all the materials in the environment which have the potential to satisfy human needs, but human beings are not able to appropriately use it because of the technology. They are not able to have that kind of technology to access to those resources, are a part of stock here. Then we have reserves. So in a reserve all are the subset of the stock which can be put into use with the help of existing technology. How now, but their use has not been started. So there are a certain future requirements as well, and for that also we have to make certain reservation for a future generation. So apart from the stock we have, we take apart from it for the future requirements. We don't these particular resources are saved for the future purposes, not for the initial purposes. Then we have development of resources. So particularly in development of resources, resources are vital for human survival as well as maintaining the quality of life. So as you all know, without resources our life is kind of useless, because for human life we need to for human survival life we need certain resources to obtain, to maintain the quality of life here. So it was believed that resources are free gift of nature. Human beings use them indiscriminately, and this has lead to the following major problems. So we have been founding that we have seen also that resources are a part of all around us. We are founding these resources and they are the free gift of nature, but we are the humans who have misused it, and currently we are facing so much of problems because of that. What are the major problems we are discussing here? First of all, depletion of resources for satisfying the greed of few individuals. So not many, but there are few of the individuals that are there in are all around you, that आप उनको कितना भी दे दो उनको वो सेटिस्फाई होगा नहीं, उनकी ग्रीड पूरी होएगी नहीं, चाहे आप कुछ भी कर लो, वट एवर यू कैन डू, बट उनका ग्रीड कभी पूरा नहीं होगा. सो देयर इज अ डिप्लीशन ऑफ रिसोर्सेज बिकॉज the richer are getting all the resources that because they have the money, they can have the access to buy each and everything as much as they can. So that's why there is a depletion of resources for the ones who can't buy it or who doesn't have that kind of an access to satisfy even their daily basis needs. So there is a certain depletion of resources because of the satisfying the greed of few individuals there. Then accumulation of resources in few hands, which in turn divided the society into two segments, which are haves and have-nots for rich and poor. Just I have stated right now that there is a lot of difference that came in rich and poor. So if still you have the access to buy a lot of stuff, they are taking it is there in few of the hands only. Like जो गरीब लोग हैं वो थोड़े थोड़े खाने पीने के लिए भी they are struggling so much, but the rich they have access to each and everything, so they can accumulate of resources. Accumulation of these resources are in few hands, so the richer are having all the available things within themselves, but the poor doesn't have that kind of thing. So the society has been divided into these two segments now, rich and poor. Now there is indiscrimination exploitation of resources has led to global ecological crises such as global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution and land degradation. So basically because overusing of these fertilizers and overusing of each and everything around us, this exploitation of resources has led to us now being global ecological crisis now. So we are facing this unnatural calamities that are happening around us because this global warming, ozone layer depletion, environmental pollution, land degradation, and now we are facing a lot more problems. The cyclones are coming up, the floods are there, then coronavirus is also there, it's also a part of it that we have become, and it is because of our actions only. This is because of the exploitation of we have taken certain steps with the nature कि हम थोड़ा ये भी ट्राई करके देख लेते हैं, और इस ट्राई करने के चक्कर में this thing has came up and it has spoiled each and everything now. Now the next topic that we are going to cover is resource planning. So in resource planning is a kind of a technique or skill of proper utilization of resources. So in every country there is a proper planning system that happen for the resources. So this resource planning is a kind of a technique or a skill for so that all the resources should be properly utilized, and it should be given to the parts of the land area that कि इस पार्ट को इतना ही चाहिए, तो हम प्लान उसी अकॉर्डिंग करेंगे कि हाँ इसको हम इतना ही देंगे, और जिसको ज़्यादा ज़रूरत है तो हम उसको उस हिसाब से देंगे. सो इट ऑल डिपेंड्स ऑन द प्लानिंग ऑफ दीज रिसोर्सेज. So there are certain stages of this resource planning. So first of all, the identification and listing of resources. तो सबसे पहले हम identify करते हैं कि हमारे पास क्या क्या what are the kind of resources we have. हम सर्वे करते हैं, उसमें हम मैपिंग करते हैं, and the measurement of the quality and quantity of the resources are the important activities undertaken at this stage. तो सबसे पहले we survey all the resources that is around us and in which particular region we can produce these kind of resources. So survey होता है, फिर मैपिंग होता है कि कौन सा रीजन किसमें ज़्यादा है कम है, तो मैपिंग होता है उसका प्रॉपर. देन मेजरमेंट्स होती हैं उनकी, क्वालिटी टेस्ट होती है, क्वांटिटीज एस्टैब्लिशमेंट होती है ऑफ रिसोर्सेज. ये बहुत ही ये फर्स्ट स्टेप होता है टू आइडेंटिफाई लिस्टिंग ऑफ दिस रिसोर्सेज एंड टू make a chart of it, what are the important activities that are undertaken in this particular stage. Then second is planning for exploitation. So then उसके बाद planning का stage आता है to develop a planning structure with suitable technology, skill and institutional setup. So there is a certain setup होता है, पूरा planning होती है सारी चीज़ों की, technologies use होती हैं इन resources को बनाने में. कि अभी तो आपके पास सिर्फ raw material आए, इन raw material को हम कन्वर्ट कैसे करेंगे यूजेबल थिंग्स में दैट कुड हेल्प दी ह्यूमन बींग्स. सो उसके बाद जब ये प्लानिंग स्ट्रक्चर हो जाता है, टेक्नोलॉजी का यूज होता है साथ में कि इनको हम पर्टिकुलरली ऐसे रिसोर्स को हम जिन चीज़ों की ज़्यादा डिमांड है वो चीज़ें ज़्यादा बनती हैं, जिनकी इतनी नहीं है वो मिनिमम लेवल पे बनती हैं. देन इंस्टीट्यूशनल सेटअप से होते हैं इनके कि अब ये जो हमारे पास कलेक्टिवली सारे रिसोर्सेस आ गए, अब हम इस रिसोर्स को हम कौन से सेक्शन ऑफ द नेशन में हमें कितना भेजना है, तो वी सेट अप दैट ऑल्सो. देन मैच रिसोर्स डेवलपमेंट प्लान विद द नेशनल डेवलपमेंट प्लान. सो देयर इज अ पर्टिकुलर नेशनल डेवलपमेंट प्लान दैट हैव बीन बिल्ट. तो अभी हम उसको मैच करते हैं कि हमारे पास कितने रिसोर्सेज हैं, और पर्टिकुलरली ईयर में जो हमने नेशनल डेवलपमेंट प्लान बनाया है उसके अकॉर्डिंग वो कितना मैच करता है और कितना नहीं करता है, कितने चीज़ें जो हैं हमें जिसका प्राइस हमें हाई रखना पड़ेगा या कम रखना पड़ेगा. तो इट ऑल इट्स अ काइंड ऑफ अ सिस्टम दैट इज गोइंग ऑन, तो उसके अकॉर्डिंग सारी चीज़ें होती हैं. देन द इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ दिस रिसोर्स प्लानिंग इज इट इज नेसेसरी टू मेंटेन द बैलेंस बिटवीन द डेवलपमेंट ऑफ द नेशन. तो अगर ये प्लानिंग नहीं होगी तो हम बैलेंस मेंटेन नहीं कर पाएंगे अपनी ओन तो, और इसके अगर बैलेंस नहीं होगा तो डेवलपमेंट नहीं हो सकता इंडिया का. So few of the points here are: some regions of India are rich in certain resources and poor in some other resources. So बहुत सारे ऐसे region हैं that are rich in certain resources but we are poor in other resources. Like Rajasthan is poor in water resources but it is rich in solar and wind energy. So in the same way I have just said you that few of the regions could be good for few of the resources but they are not good in each and every source here. So it depends on that particular region in which particular resource it is good at and which is not. Then some regions are self-sufficient while other regions are very poor in important resources. For example, Madhya Pradesh is rich in many resources but Ladakh is poor in resources. So here few of the states also, few of the regions also are rich in one and they are self-sufficient for their that particular land is self-sufficient that उसको किसी और particular जगह से चीज़ें लाने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, वो उसके पास इतने रिसोर्सेज हैं कि वो अपने आप को सेटिस्फाई कर सकता है. मध्य प्रदेश इज फुल ऑफ रिसोर्सेज, आपको हर एक काइंड ऑफ रिसोर्स वहाँ पे मिल सकता है. इट इज रिच इन मैनी रिसोर्सेज बट लद्दाख इज अ प्लेस जहाँ पे ये सारे रिसोर्सेज अवेलेबल नहीं है. इट इज वेरी पुअर इन रिसोर्सेज, तो हमें वो सारे रिसोर्सेज वहाँ तक पहुँचाने पड़ेंगे. ऐसे बहुत सारे जगह हैं, पंजाब है, हरियाणा है, बहुत सारी चीज़ों में फेमस हैं, बहुत सारे इन वन वे और दी अदर we can satisfy our own particular region. So but there are many other regions that will be there, like Assam or Sikkim kind of a place. They are not that good in resources, so it all depend on that as well. Then wastage of resources can be avoided by planning. So certainly अगर हमारे पास एक proper planning होगा तो उससे wastage of resources नहीं हो सकता. तो we were properly planning for each and everything here, so उससे हम क्या कर सकते, बचा सकते हैं wastage of resources. Then environmental pollution can be reduced. So if you are utilizing each and everything properly, environmental pollution भी कम होगा. Over exploitation of resources can be avoided by these planning things. So these are the importance of resource planning here. Now sustainable development. So in sustainable development is a kind of a system in which the economic development which does not damage the environment and at the same time takes care of the needs of the future generation is called sustainable development. So basically here they are saying that we should utilize all the resources in such a way that it should not damage the environment in one way and it should also satisfy our current needs. और उसके साथ साथ हमें ये भी सोचना है कि हम इतना ही यूज़ करें ताकि फ्यूचर जनरेशन के लिए भी वो चीज़ अवेलेबल हो. So we should be using this particular system for the development of the nation. So this is for sustainable development. So the economic development here is so called, which does not damage the environment and at the same time takes care of the needs of the future generation, which is known as sustainable development. So that's it for this particular revision session. If you have queries from any other topics, you can just let me know. I will clear it out in this revision session only. Now the homework solution. So I have given you an assignment to do. So this is the particular solution of that assignment. I have given you 4 questions. The first one was, what is the importance of agriculture in Indian economy? So India is an agriculture country. Nearly 2/3 of its population depends directly on agriculture for its livelihood. So nearly 2/3 of its population depends directly on agriculture for its livelihood. Agriculture is the mainstay of India's economy. It accounts for 26% of the gross domestic product and it ensures food security for the country and produces several raw material for industries. Agricultural development is therefore a precondition of our national prosperity. Question number 2. What is plantation agriculture? So plantation farming is bush or tree farming. The British introduced it in the 19th century. It is a single crop farming of rubber, tea, coffee, coca, spices, coconut and fruits like apples, grapes, oranges, etc. It is capital intensive and demands good managerial availability, technical know-how, sophisticated machinery, fertilizers, irrigation and transport facilities. Some of the plantations like tea, coffee, rubber have a processing factory within the farm itself or close to it. Third, what is the importance of animal husbandry in India? Farm animals form an important ecosystem in an agricultural country like India. Farm animals are the partners of the farmers. Ox, he buffalo and camel are used as draught animals in performing activities like logging, sowing, thrashing and transporting farm products, and cows and sheep buffalo provide them milk. So basically that's the importance of animal husbandry in India. Fourth, how will the change in the cropping pattern affect the Indian economy? So the change in the cropping pattern, for example from cereals to high value crops, will mean that India will have to import food. If India imports cereals while exporting high value commodities, it will be following successful economics like Italy, Israel and Chile. Now the homework for this particular lecture that I want to give you: learn and study again the topics that we have covered in today's lecture. Just study all the topics, read the book, read from book, read the notes that I have given you, study these topics again, make notes out of them, and write short question and answers, whatever question you are finding from these particular topics that are important, and practice them again, and show it to me, and mail that particular practice work to me on my mail session. So I'm not giving you much of the homework that you have to do. You just have to learn and study again these topics, make notes, and write the short question and answers, whatever are there, minimum, maximum, how much you can make out of them. Write it down from these topics and practice them again and show it to me. I want to see that you are practicing, you are studying these topics again, and you are revising them. It is good for your well-being only. We are doing this revision session more often now, so that you are able to understand each and every topic again. And if there's anything that you want to share apart from the studies also, you can just share it with me anytime. I'm here to listen. I'm here to help you out with each and everything. If you're not able to understand anything, we are the teachers. We are here to help you out, to guide you out with each and every stuff. So please just open up to us and just let us know what are your problems and what are you facing currently. And please study also, and take care of your mental health as well. That is most important. Take certain gaps between your study time, because I know you're studying 5 subjects daily and there's a lot of burden that happens. So take certain gaps so that there's a recovery time between each subject you are studying there, and you are able to utilize that particular time area in something that you love. That's the only solution that I can give you currently. But we are taking all these problems that we are facing currently, and we are working on it. I am taking all these things to the management staff, and we are taking certain good steps for your studies as well. So I will just let you know whatever steps we are taking, and you will get to know really soon. So that's it for this lecture. Please take care of your health and your family as well. Thank you so much.